Yes, YouTube, we're here. We're here on a Wednesday morning, maybe around lunchtime if you got a little break off of work. Yeah, we're here. We're here. So, this is gonna be quick, man. We got 3 stories for you. Maybe you're on lunch break. I don't want to take up your whole lunch break. Maybe you got a quick 15-minute break. You decided to join us, and I'm glad you did. Welcome to Political Drain. I'm Bruce Lively, and I'm giving you a little preview. We'll call this a preview of TGIF. Thank Ganja It's Friday. There are some things that need to be mentioned before Friday. We have 3 stories, and I'm going to try to take exactly 15 minutes to mention them. Thanks to Laura Malcolm, my illustrious, illuminated, intelligent co-host. She sent me some things, and I don't want them to wait. One of them being this. The first story is, just in case you thought that all of a sudden the only thing that's going on was an attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And just in case all of a sudden it seems like, well, the only violence happening is because of the rhetoric on the left. Right? Just in case you forgot the actual real world that we're living in, I thought it pertinent to bring this up, to show the real reason why we've been upset for so long. The real reason that violence seems to be the way of politics ever since Donald Trump came down that golden escalator. Ever since he denied the democratic processes. This is the actual facts. This is what's been going on. Hey, Macaroni, what's happening? So it seems to me that ever since the attempted assassination by the crazy guy over there, Ryan Routh, that all we see on every station is how we need to tamp down the rhetoric. Oh, after all that we've been saying, after January 6th, after denial, talking about election fraud that never happened, and all of it. All of a sudden, it needs to be tamped down on the left. Just in case you need a reminder, the FBI says they're investigating suspicious packages sent to election officials in at least 8 states. I believe this was yesterday. It may be more by now. Because it started out with 6 states. And now it's 8 states. I have a feeling it's going to be more than that. But they got to start with, first thing they got to start with is the swing states. Because this is the type of violence, this is the type of anti-democratic violence, the type of rhetoric-induced and fueled violence that makes a difference to the rest of the country as well. In case they forgot to tell you, quick 15 minutes, let's read. Jefferson City, Missouri, and this is by the Microsoft News Network here. Jefferson City, Missouri, per the AP, the FBI and the U.S. Postal Service on Tuesday were investigating suspicious packages that have been sent to or received by elections officials in at least 8 states. But there were no immediate reports that any of the packages contained hazardous materials. The latest packages were sent to election officials in Massachusetts and Missouri, authorities said. The Missouri Secretary of State's Elections Division received a suspicious package from an unknown source, spokesperson Jordan Cheney said. He said mailroom workers contained the package, and no injuries were reported. It marked the second time in the past year that suspicious packages were mailed to election officials in multiple state offices. The latest scare comes as early voting has begun in several states less than 2 months ahead of the high-stakes election. You see that, people? You see that? There is a consequence to rhetoric. And it's not Ryan Ruth, who was a wannabe woke hero, who's somebody who got sent back from Ukraine because he wanted to go there and be a hero, but had no wartime experience, so they sent him back. And he wrote his own book about it, about how he was disrespected, and he thought he could get one last shot in at the golf course in Florida. There's other things going on that are directly related to anti-democratic rhetoric. Local election directors are beefing up their security to keep their workers. What they don't say here, or maybe I'm not going to get to it all, but just so you know, this is 8 states, mostly swing states, and there was white powder found in one of these, at least one of these packages. We're talking about bioterrorism, threats to people's lives, whether executed or just threatened. There are threats to people's lives with bioterrorism because of election denials. I thought maybe you should know that this morning. We're only going to take 15 minutes. This is only story 1. I thought you should know. Macaroni. Stephanie B2, what's going on with you? Matter of fact, let me just go ahead and pop this out. So we will be, for sure, doing our TGIF this week. We've missed a couple of weeks. But these things were important enough, I thought it was worth talking about before we get there. All right? That's the first story. So when we're talking about rhetoric, when they're telling you about who needs to tamp down the rhetoric, please remind them that Political Drain at 11 o'clock a.m. on Wednesday brought to you the story of bioterrorism, of suspected bioterrorism, and threatened bioterrorism by kooks and maniacs trying to subvert our democratic process and our election system. Remind them of that when they tell you that you need to tamp down the rhetoric. Would you please? Let them know you heard it here first. Real quick, before we get to the next one. Actually, let's just go on to it. Now, one of the most ridiculous and stupid and absolutely bonkers but dangerous stories that's come out during this election cycle is the whole cats and dogs and pets. You heard it, you know what it is. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets. Remember that? Remember that disgrace, that disgusting, racist remark said on TV? Well, it was started by J.D. Vance, the vice president, Mr. Eyeliner himself. Mr. Eyeliner himself, who can't even defend his own wife, who happens to be of Indian descent, when Laura Loomer says that if Kamala gets elected, the White House will smell like curry. And not only that, you won't get to talk to anybody because it's going to be manned by a call center of people you can't understand. Let's normalize racism and hate. That guy who can't even defend his wife. Well, it turns out It turns out that he used to be a human being. But in order to be a part of the ridiculous, unbelievably backwards, and disgusting membership, in order to be a card-holding member of MAGA, you have to denounce humanity. You have to actually, purposefully, willfully deny that you were ever once a human being, a decent person, a rational person. Turns out J.D. Vance asked an ex-professor to delete his scathing rebuke of the GOP from the internet. See, that was back when he was going to Yale and he had to prove that he had intelligence in order to graduate and in order to have friends. But what happens is, after you leave that place where people are expected to think and be decent and have actual reasons and logic for their thoughts, you get into the world where truth doesn't matter, humanity doesn't matter, only indecency. And in order to prove how indecent he is, Stephanie B. and Macaroni, in order to prove how indecent he is, he went and called his ex-professor to delete a scathing report he had on racism in the Republican Party. And his professor deleted it. But don't you know? Don't worry about it. I got it right here. Oh, you thought I wouldn't? You knew I would. You knew I would. Shall we read it together? Matter of fact, I think I can even pull it up on this thing. Let's read it together, shall we? Because we're going to make a point this morning about rhetoric. We're going to make a point about rhetoric this morning. Not only are election officials being sent bio-terrorist threats, white powder, and suspicious packages in order to ensure that they steal an election. Decent rhetoric is being called on to be scrubbed from the internet in place of, to be replaced by racism, misogyny, anti-cat women, extra makeup, and fake smiles on the part of the Trump campaign. But that's okay. We got the original. Let's read it together. Stephanie B., Macaroni, glad to see you here. We're going to start with the elephant in the room, because this is a long, scathing report that a once human being, now turned mannequin and coat hanger for Donald Trump. This is what he used to do. Let's read. The party's problems start with an inability to connect with non-white voters. The Republicans' electoral confidence depended on their belief that a lack of enthusiasm from Democrats would push turnout among white voters to 2004 levels. But this was a pipe dream, says the astute, the illuminated, the intelligent J.D. Vance. To read on, blacks and Latinos are growing segments of the population, whites are shrinking, and the racial composition of the 2004 electorate is a thing of the past. To win, the Republicans must turn the tide with non-white voters. The unfortunate reality is that attracting non-white voters is about far more than communication. Political ads in Spanish are great, but won't move the dial absent of fundamental platform change. This is J.D. Vance, people, when it was okay to be a human being. J.D. Vance, when it was okay to wear the eyeliner and cross-dress and have fun and be thoughtful. Now that he's turned into a mannequin, now that he's turned into a mannequin to don the MAGA hat, now that he's turned into a plastic placeholder for white guy here, these things he can't have on the internet anymore. You telling me you used to be smart, intelligent, thoughtful? No, we can't have that type of rhetoric. And now he's telling you that the Democrats need to change their rhetoric. You want me to read on? I'll give you just a little bit more before we go to our third story. A good friend recently told me that he was becoming more liberal because he just didn't believe in supply-side economics anymore. I was almost speechless. Supporting supply-side economics is like supporting Soviet containment. It's anachronistic. Anachronistic. I don't know what that means to the extreme. Reaganomics was the response to a particular phenomenon, an overregulated, overtaxed, and sluggish economy of the 70s. It was never meant to become party orthodoxy. When you hear about, that's enough. I think you've seen enough. What I'll do is I will go ahead and post this in the chat section so that when you come by this later, you can read it for yourself. And just in case you think I'm lying, author J.D. Vance, after his second name change. That's him. That's him as a Yale student when he was thoughtful, decent. Supply-side economics, trickle-down economics. You know, the one where they give tax breaks to the rich and then the rich pee on your back and tell you it's raining? That trickle-down. That trickle-down was never meant to be an orthodoxy of the party. Where's that rhetoric? I haven't seen that. I haven't heard that in a while. Have you heard that? Have you heard that, Stephanie B. too? Have you heard that, Macaroni? When you hear it, let me know. I'd love to hear it. Let's get quickly to our third story because people, I know it's lunchtime and we're going to go over a lot of this. I really would love to get to this, but I think there's one more story that's more important. Listen, TGIF, thank Ganja It's Friday. We're going over all the humiliations that Trump has felt. Leave a like, press subscribe if you're just watching this and you're new to the channel. Understand we also have merch. This Friday, we're going to be talking about this racist right here and how he went in on an amazing, unbelievable racist rant and questioning in the House of Representatives where all of the racist things seem to happen. You won't, oh my God, you won't believe it. What's this guy's name? Is this Gomert? That's not Gomert. Well, this guy. I can't remember his name, but I want to get this done quickly. Also, here's the third story. I think it's worth listening to. We're going in on a lot. Mark Cuban's coming out. He's talking about what the heck is wrong with this bum. We got a lot to talk about, okay? But this is the third story, and it's so important.
Breaking news out of Washington. ABC News is reporting that Trump and his campaign are in trouble with the feds for breaking the law. Now, of course, Republicans are all going to cry, weaponized Justice Department. But let them cry, because this time there's not only footage, but we all saw it.
What he's talking about is there was an outcry by all of us when we saw Donald Trump, when we saw the Tangerine Tornado go to Arlington and absolutely destroy the hallowed grounds under his breezy feet. We saw it. And then we heard that the lady who was pushed out the way by his campaign for merely trying to uphold the rules, where he was going, Section 60, there was no campaign footage allowed. There's no pictures or video allowed, especially if it's used for campaign purposes. They lied. They pushed her out the way. Then they took pictures with the thumbs up and dead soldiers, unhonored, dishonored, under their disgusting orange feet with the thumbs up, and used it in a campaign on Twitter, on TikTok. Yes, they did. But the lady did not file charges because she was scared that the same MAGA sycophants, the same disgusting horde of monsters that wear red hats and nothing else, would come after her and destroy her life. The truth is, it wasn't up to her to press charges. He broke the law on federal grounds. And now he might just pay for that.
His entire life, Donald Trump has been under the belief that because he, but rather whether the government is going to uphold its responsibilities and prosecute him and his team for breaking the law. And ABC is saying it appears so. You'll recall that last month the Trump campaign was accused of engagements, and that photography and video staffer, they threw their weight around. Yes, mentally unstable people always dress in uniform. Then the campaign tried the line that the family gave them permission, to which a simple 6-year-old child could have said, the family does not have the authority to grant that permission.
Facts. Now let's go to the rest of the story so you can get on with your lunchtime, people.
Instead. But today, ABC News is announcing that the investigation is going forward in a move that Trump would describe as a technicality. ABC reports that as part of the probe led by the Joint Base Meyer-Henderson Hall Police Department, an investigator with the base's police department has sought in recent days to contact Trump campaign officials about the incident. Investigators are seeking to interview the officials involved in the incident, according to the sources. So if the Army says the matter was closed, how is this investigation going forward? ABC reports that, although the Army oversees Arlington National Cemetery, law enforcement is handled by Joint Base Meyer-Henderson Hall in Virginia as a neighboring base. The base's police department falls under the Army in an administrative capacity, but operates as a law enforcement agency and is staffed by federal law enforcement officers.
You don't say.
Not military police.
That's why.
They quote a defense official who told them, the investigation is ongoing at Joint Base Meyer-Henderson Hall by base authorities. Almost as newsworthy as the ongoing investigation is the fact that ABC is doggedly pursuing this story.
Yes.
Almost as if they are in the business of journalism.
Wouldn't you guess?
They directly asked the Army for a comment on Monday, but received no response other than to look at the statement from August. They then pursued base authorities at the Joint Base Meyer-Henderson Hall, but did not receive a comment there either. ABC has actually filed a Freedom of Information Act request, but the Army replied by saying documents couldn't be released yet because those documents are part of an investigation.
And here we go. There's no more to tell you. Everything else is just to make the video longer so it can have a commercial. Let's be honest. The truth is there's an ongoing investigation, but that's only thanks to journalists who actually feel like they can do journalism. There's a very distinct change going on ABC. I saw it during the debate. I see it at times like this, and I've noticed it over the past 6 to 8 months. It's a slow crawl to becoming journalists again, to breaking news stories again, to actually following up with questions and research again. So I applaud them. I hope they keep it up. I don't know for sure I don't know for sure if these people will have the balls necessary to hold Trump and his entourage accountable for what they did at Arlington, for disgracing our service members. Okay? Yeah. I don't know. But I can say this. You can go back to your lunch break. You can go back to your 15-minute smoke break if that's what you're doing, knowing that at least someone is on the case. This Friday, we're going to be talking about this real quick. Give you a little preview.
Hey everyone. So the team decided to do a fun competition.
This Friday, we're going to tell you about John Kennedy, another person who's destroyed his last name like Mr. Brainworm himself. How he just throws slur after slur after slur after slur, dealing with the Arab American community advocate. I mean, it's gross. It's disgusting. You're going to want to see it so we can all be disgusted together. Don't let me be disgusted alone. This Friday, you're also going to be dealing with everything that this guy right here has been talking about. Not Vivek, but actually Mark Cuban. He's been on quite a few different shows talking about Trump and how he knows him intimately, and it's more disgusting than you've ever known. This Friday, we're going to be talking about Trump's continued downfall into dementia, humiliation. It just won't stop. This Friday, we'll also be talking about, a lot. Get ready for it. I did an expose on this guy here, Ryan Routh. Talked about his history from 1991. How he's shown signs of this hero sycophancy, how he wants to become a hero, and his disgusting portrayal of left-wing ideals. It's gross. We as left-wingers have to denounce it if we pretend to be who we say we are. That's it. Thank you guys so much. When they tell you about rhetoric between now and Friday, we'll also have other stuff, I'm sure. When they tell you about rhetoric, when they remind you about who needs to be speaking what and what kind of speech is dangerous, please remind them that election officials in 8 states have received bioterrorist threats to their lives and to their communities to ensure that the MAGA crowd can steal an election. When they tell you about what's going on and how rhetoric needs to be changed because Trump was almost shot at, which he wasn't, will you remind him that the rhetoric of humanity has been erased from the MAGA campaign, and real humans get turned into mannequins simply for the purpose of displaying MAGA hats, to the point where J.D. Vance himself has to disown his own wife and his own words, where he told you that this whole supply side economic thing that Republicans have been running on for 40 years is bull, and it was never meant to be part of their orthodoxy. And their indecency toward people of color is the reason why they haven't won a popular vote for presidency in 20 years. And when they tell you about what kind of rhetoric needs to be stopped, remind them that they're not supposed to be campaigning at Arlington. And that rhetoric was disgusting. Remind them that somebody will hopefully hold them accountable. And then we can talk about the rhetoric on the left. Thank you guys for joining me this early lunchtime preview of TGIF. And I'll see you guys on Friday night, usually 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Stephanie B. too. Thank you, Macaroni. Press that like button, guys. Subscribe if you're watching this later, and if you're new to the channel, and get some of that merch. We got it's getting winter time. It's getting cold. We got hoodies. We got the I Dissent hoodies. We got anti-Trump hoodies, and it'll be helping the channel. Share this. Tell your friends. Tell your friends. We are the pro-democracy team here. Anti-Trump team here. And we're trying to get people out to the polls. Vote early. Vote early. It's time. Let's win this, guys.